nation's history. The American people are demanding that Congress debate and pass a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution. They're going to get that debate, and I am confident that if congressmen and senators listen to their constituents, the citizens of this nation are going to have the opportunity to ratify a balanced budget amendment this year. All 47 Republican members of the Senate are of one mind on the need for a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution. We have listened to our constituents who are pleading with us to take action that will permanently resolve our debt crisis and keep us from getting into this situation again. That situation is a disaster. We all know the numbers: 3 straight $1 trillion plus deficits, $14.5 trillion in debt rising every day, $62 trillion in total liabilities that this government owns. And since Senate Democrats last passed a budget, that was over 790 days ago. Our national debt has risen by $3.2 trillion, and now the administration is asking for more. We simply can't do this anymore. 100% of our tax revenues are spent on mandatory spending and interest on the debt. Every other penny is borrowed. The money is simply not there to finance a government of this size. And everyone knows this, though not everyone will admit it. They know that deficit spending and skyrocketing debt have come to an end. Our nation's current debt-to-GDP ratio is 95%. Countries with debt above 90% of GDP have growth that is 1% below normal, resulting in a loss of 1 million jobs. Our debt is a lead weight around the neck of the economy. But in the current negotiations over the debt limit, the administration insists that it is Republicans who, by refusing to pass an increase of the debt limit that does not include meaningful efforts to address our fiscal situation, are holding back the economic recovery and undercutting the stock and bond markets. This has things exactly backward. The markets understand that our long-term deficit projections are moving toward a full-blown debt crisis. The markets understand that we are currently on the glide path to Greece, and the markets would respond like gangbusters to spending cuts, spending caps, and a balanced budget amendment that brings our long-term fiscal problems under control. I am more convinced than ever that a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution is essential if we are to right our fiscal ship. This is not the first time that we've been down this road, but the stakes could not be higher this time, and the amendment could not be better designed to address the crisis. Our amendment is not just an amendment for fiscal balance. It is an amendment that takes on the root cause of our current debt crisis, and that is government spending. Our amendment requires a balanced budget. It establishes a spending cap of 18% of GDP, and it establishes supermajority requirements for tax increases or future debt limit increases. We will hear a number of tired arguments against the BBA. Its opponents will say that the amendment is not properly vetted, but we've been talking about the balanced budget amendment for decades, and if we had passed it back in 1997 when it fell by one vote short of being sent to the states for ratification, we would not be in the mess we're in today. They will say that it stacks the deck by requiring spending cuts rather than tax increases to balance the budget. This is an issue that I will address at length, but the American people understand that the solution to a spending crisis is not to give the government more money to spend, especially this government. They will say that a balanced budget amendment is unnecessary. Congress just needs to do its job. But we've heard this over and over before. And the American people know that waiting for Congress to balance the budget and shrink the size of government without a constitutional amendment is less fruitful than waiting for Godot. They will say that the spending cuts required as a result of this BBA will hurt children and the elderly. But the real harm to our children will be when we hand them a future of national indebtedness and dim economic prospects. And the real harm to the elderly will be the coming bankruptcy of the nation's entitlement programs, the guaranteed result of the president's failure to lead on entitlement reform. And finally, they will say that the Constitution should not be amended. I agree that it should not be amended lightly, But the founders themselves expected that changing circumstances and national emergencies would demand amendments to the Constitution from time to time. The American people understand that this is one of those times. In this country, the people are sovereign. The Constitution is their Constitution, and they are demanding that Congress pass a balanced budget amendment and send it to them and the states for ratification. My hope is that the party of Thomas Jefferson will listen to their constituents and follow their founders' lead, keeping faith in the people and their good sense and stewardship over the Constitution. Later this summer, we will vote on a balanced budget amendment. God willing, this fall, the people in the states will start down the road to ratification. I am proud to be joined this morning by several of my colleagues who have been critical leaders on the balanced budget amendment. Each brings a unique perspective to this debate, and I think it is great that they are standing up to lead on this issue. Mr. President, I would like to yield 5 minutes to my colleague, the junior senator from Kentucky. He is a remarkable spokesperson for limited government, and I am glad to have him on my side in the coming fight for the balanced budget amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President, Madam President.